In this video, I explain why stock market crashes will become more frequent. And we know that at the moment we have a bull market in the stock market, and it's been going up since the last crash. In fact, the last crash was last year at the start of the pandemic, and we are now in May 2021, and stock markets, especially in the US, they are making new highs. Okay, so there is a big difference between now and in the past, because I'm thinking about stock market 20 years ago, 30 years ago. At the time, the stock market and the economy were more in sync. Okay, so what I mean is that the stock market and the economy was doing well, the stock market would go up. But today, it's not necessarily the same thing. And the stock market, the economy could go up and the stock market could go down. And I will explain why. First, why do we have this difference between 20 years ago and today? The main thing, the difference is this box here you can see called monetary stimulus. This is quantitative easing, or QE. It's also an increase in the money supply, whatever you call it. Basically, it's an injection of liquidity in the system. That's what it is. So if you go back to 20 years ago or 30 years ago, and we didn't have this QE. But in the last 10 years, especially, since the last financial crisis in 2007, there has been a massive increase in the monetary stimulus, a massive increase in QE, and basically this money that has been created, because it's money creation. It just when they do QE, the money supply increases, and this increase in the money supply is huge. It's so big that now we've got a massive amount of debt in the system. So when you look at the liquidity, the amount of liquidity, there are many consequences of increasing the money supply. The first one is rising corporate and government debt. So the more they print, the more they create money, the bigger the level of corporate and government debt. The second thing is the US dollar. An excessive amount of stimulus will weaken the dollar. Then we've got two other things affecting asset prices. There are many assets. I'm talking here about house prices and stock market, but we can also look at the cryptocurrencies, for example. It's the same thing, and other assets. There is a link between the amount of stimulus and the rise in cryptocurrencies, the rise in house prices, and the rise in the stock market. So the more they print, the more they create money, the more the markets go up. And that's why we had a big recovery in the stock market since last year after the pandemic started. We had this crash in the stock market, and then the recovery was very swift. The stock market went straight to new high. And that was caused by the amount of stimulus injected in the system. So when you have liquidity, a lot of liquidity, that's what happened. And it's the same thing with house prices. They've been rising. Now, the consequence of an increase in the money supply is that companies will benefit, and also individuals. And that's why we've got here rising consumer wealth. This applies only if you own a house or you are invested in the stock market. Because if you don't have any house or any shares, stocks and shares, then it's not going to affect you. But at the moment, nowadays, I would say most people own a house or an apartment or some kind of property. And also, I believe that there is an increasing proportion of people who own stocks and shares because the stock market keeps going up. It's very simple. If you go back 20 years ago, many people would not invest in the stock market. They were worried about losing money. In the past, if you go back a long time before quantitative easing, many people would not invest in the stock market, and that was because there are some people, they don't like to take risks with their money. They prefer to invest in a saving account. However, this has changed completely because one of the consequences of doing QE, increasing the money supply, is that interest rates will go down. That's what it does. QE puts pressure on interest rates, and that's why we see that interest rates are near zero today. And as a result, you can't put your money in the bank account, in a saving account, because you don't earn anything. So this QE encourages people to invest in the stock market because there is no alternative. You can't put your money in the bank. There is no alternative. So what do people do? They invest in the stock market, and because the stock market keeps rising, it's seen as safe. It's not like 20 years ago. And that is another reason why people put their money in the stock market. And as a result, it's like self-fulfilling, because the more people start joining the stock market, the more the market goes up because there are more participants. And that's what we are seeing today. As a result of the central bank's policies, the stock market is rising. It's like manipulated to go up. And as a result, many people who before did not invest in the stock market, now they invest in the stock market. And we can see that in the news. I'm sure you've seen the news last year and this year. We see stories of people even giving up their jobs because they are making so much money from the rising stock market, and maybe they are making money from also the rise in the cryptocurrencies. I don't know. I'm not sure but if they invest in cryptos or a stock market or maybe a mixture of the two. Plus, if they own a house, it's going up. So their wealth is rising. It's not going down. And I think that that is the big difference with the past, is that today, if your money is invested in the stock market and in other assets, everything goes up. Everything goes up because there's so much liquidity. So much liquidity in the system that everything goes up. And I think now, more and more people will invest their money to make money. And as a result, there is, I would say that sorry, I forgot to say that in addition to the QE, we also have the fiscal stimulus here. You can see, and that feeds into again rising consumer wealth because many people have been unemployed as a result of the pandemic and the shutting of the economy. Many companies have closed down, and as a result, people are getting unemployment benefits, stimulus checks, and their salary basically has been maintained, more or less. So those people are getting free money, and if you have a situation where the unemployed are making money from their investment, and at the same time they are getting free checks from the government, they are not willing to go back to work, and that's why I say here fewer people in work. So that's the main problem today compared to 20 years ago. That today people are making a good income, staying at home, and they have no need to go back to work. I mean, some people, if you don't have any assets, then you are going to go back to work. You need the money. But all of the other who are invested, they may go back to work maybe part-time, doing a few hours a day or something like that, but they are not really, looking forward to go back to work. But at the same time, they keep consuming because they've got the money. So you've got more people staying at home, not going back to work, and on the other hand, you've got they are still consuming. This is why I put constant demand for goods and services. And therefore, I'm not sure if it's a constant demand. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. Maybe, I'm not sure. I don't have the exact data. So that's why I assume that it is a constant demand for goods and services. If you have an economy where there is less people in work, but the demand for goods and services remains the same, then it's going to cause a supply chain disruption. Okay, so that's a problem today. And that's why you see in the news many companies having problem with their supply chain. And we've seen also some in the news that many companies are having trouble to hire people. They can't find staff, and that's the main problem. So this problem in the supply chain has a consequence, and the consequence is that it's going to affect high commodity prices. And also, the supply chain means that the problem in the supply chain means that the commodity prices are rising. And again, you can see, if you go to check the market, you will see that products like copper, lumber, oil, corn, a lot of commodities, they are all going up. And this is something to do with the supply chain, but also because of the weak US dollar. We've seen that one of the consequences of QE is to weaken the dollar. And when the dollar goes down, commodity prices go up. So we've got two things affecting commodity prices today, which is the weakness of the dollar, and you can see the dollar has gone down since last year. At the moment, it's going up. It's like a rebound, but the trend is down in the dollar. If you look from last year, the trend is down. And the more money they create, the more QE they do, the lower the dollar will go. So that is going to put pressure on commodity prices to go up. Together with the supply chain disruption, commodity prices are going to go up, and they are going up. And this translates into rising inflation. So rising inflation is a result of the weakness in the US dollar and the rise in the commodity prices. The rise in inflation causes problems for companies because obviously what they are buying costs more. They have higher costs as a result of the rising inflation. At the same time, rising inflation can affect unemployment as well, because when you have rising inflation, consumer will spend more. Costs are rising, so things that you buy every day will rise. And as a result, if the cost of living is going up, people who are employed will ask for higher wages. And if they don't get an increase in pay, they are going to go on strike. So this rising inflation that we are seeing today, one of the consequences of that rising inflation is that more people will go on strike. And that's the next thing that we can expect. If inflation continues to go up, what we will see in the future is more strikes. So it means that again, fewer people in work, and then more problem in the supply chain. So that supply chain disruption is not temporary. It's not temporary. It's going to last longer than we think. Now, if you have a rising inflation, so we said already it can affect the supply chain, it can also affect companies' profits because of the costs. And it's difficult for a company to raise prices when their margins are affected by the inflation, because people won't necessarily accept higher prices. Also, they have to pay their staff. They have to give them more money, because that's what they want. Because if you have inflation, it costs more to buy stuff, so you have to pay your staff higher, give them more money. So all that is a problem for companies. That's why in a period of rising inflation and high inflation, companies' profit and earnings will be hit. Many companies will issue profit warnings. Then the other consequence of rising inflation is obviously higher interest rates, because if inflation is going up, the central bank will have, the central bank will have to raise interest rates because otherwise, people are losing money. In real terms, they are losing money if inflation is higher than saving rates. So what we see normally when inflation is rising is we see bond yield rising. And we've seen that, I think, on the 10-year yield, I think since last year it's been rising. And because of the inflation. Now, what does that mean? That means that, again, if you are an investor and you are going to buy a bond, and say, for example, the yield on the bond is 2%, but inflation is 2% too, so, you don't make anything in real term. For example, if the bond yield, you get like 2% on the yield and inflation is 4%, and you lose. In the real term, you lose because inflation is higher. So that's why people who invest in bonds, they want more. If inflation is rising, they want more. And that's why the yields are rising. So that's causing a problem in the economy, because remember that the more money is created, the bigger the debt, corporate and government debt. Okay, and that debt bubble is becoming a bubble now because it's so huge. I don't have the figure to give you there, but you can look on the internet and you will see that it's at record high because of all the money that has been created. And the problem today is not like 20 years ago. We didn't have that amount of debt 20 years ago. So basically, 20 years ago, with lower level of debt, interest rates could go up to 5, 6, 7%, and it was fine. Companies were doing fine. The stock market was doing fine. Economy was doing fine. I remember in the early 90s, mortgage rates were at 13 or 14%. You wouldn't see that today. Impossible, because the debt level is so huge today that if interest rate mortgage rate go to 13 or 14%, the market would collapse. It's not sustainable, basically, because of the level of debt we have created. So that is a difference. Each time they print money, that debt bubble gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then we are in that debt bubble, and it can burst. And that's the main risk. And that if you have higher interest rates, everything will go up. Corporate debt, corporation will have to pay more to service the debt, and consumer will have to pay more on their credit card, mortgage rate, and that is when the debt bubble bursts. You can see, and that the consequence of that is a stock market crash. So the difference that we are seeing today is there is too much debt in the system. So any small rise in interest rates can have major consequences on the stock market, and that's where we are headed. And you can see what's happening in the economy. The stock market keeps going up. It's a mania. People don't see the risk, but there is a real risk. There is a big risk, and that risk is that the inflation is going to push bond yields much higher. Interest rates will have to go up. Companies' earnings will be hit. Consumer will have problems with their mortgage. This will collapse asset prices like house prices and the stock market. And that's the main difference between now and 20 years ago. This money creation via quantitative easing is not sustainable. It is a kind of short-term help to the maybe to the economy, to the stock market, and to other assets, but in the long term, those assets have no future. They can't rise forever. It is not possible because we get to that stock market crash and when the stock market crash, other assets will go down, like house prices will go down. But because there is not, the central banks don't have many solutions to that problem, I think what they will do is create even more money. Because if the stock market crash, what we get is the opposite of the current situation. What I mean by the opposite is instead of having inflation, we have deflation. This time, if the stock market crashes, asset prices will go down, so it's deflationary. And in that situation of deflation where prices are falling, the central bank will produce more money, will do more QE. So we are in that cycle where the debt bubble is big, is getting bigger, then we get a stock market crash because the rising inflation is killing the bubble, and then market crash, they come with more QE, then we start again, more QE means the debt bubble is growing again. We have the same thing, we get again rising inflation, rising commodity prices, again stock market crash. It's difficult to see the end of this cycle, and that's why I think stock market crashes will become more frequent. We are in a new era. Because once you are in that system of stimulating the economy and asset prices, it's difficult to get out of it. So basically, in the long term, there will be many crashes. And every time there is a crash, a new cycle will start. So how do you invest in that market? And this is not a market, it's not a market to buy and hold because, you can say buy and hold over a year or two, but if you have a crash every 2 years and you have to start again, so basically it is a market where when the bubble is near is very ripe, and ready to burst, and then this is the time you need to sell, and get out. And after each crash, I think this is the time to get back into it. But it's difficult to see the future long-term, very long-term with this cycle because it's never been done before. So I'm not sure what's going to happen in the long term. What I know is that the stock market will probably go sideways for many, many years because every time it goes up and there is a crash, then it starts going up again and there is another. It's like this kind of pattern is sideways and it could last a long time. But as I said, we've never seen that before, and for that reason, I'm not sure, in 10 years or 20 years time, I'm not sure, if the stock market will go up, basically. It may go down for a long time, or it may go sideways.